during the Cell Saga, we get to witness the spectacle that is the fight between Piccolo and Android 17. The choreography, the animation, and the general pacing of the fight were all top-notch. But enough about that. Today, I'm here to explore a situation where Piccolo manages to end Android 17 before Cell arrives at the island where their battle is taking place. As we all know, Piccolo and 17 are basically neck to neck in terms of power, but Piccolo slightly edges 17 in terms of raw brute strength, while 17 has infinite energy, thus he could operate at full power at all times. So how could Piccolo defeat 17? There's only one way. Piccolo needed to put his all into one attack strong enough to pierce 17's defenses and give him the victory, which also means he can't drag the fight out. If the fight dragged out for too long, Piccolo's power would drop far too much for any technique to get through Android 17's Android barrier. So at the start of the fight, Piccolo immediately asks 17 how confident he is. 17 remarks that looking at Piccolo's power back then when he fought and lost to Android 18, he wasn't at all afraid of the Namekian's power. 17 was confident to the point that he was actually slightly cocky. So Piccolo tells 17 that he will show 17 his greatest technique, but it required a while to charge up. Without hesitation, 17 gives Piccolo the time he needs, stating that he wouldn't attack Piccolo while Piccolo was doing so. Piccolo puts his fingers to his forehead as he focuses, starting to charge up his special beam cannon. 17 stands there waiting with a smirk on his face. Android 16 tries to persuade 17 to take the fight more seriously, that Piccolo was more than he seemed, but 17 waves off 16's concerns. Soon enough, the special beam cannon was ready. Piccolo holds the power in his fingertips as he yells, "Makanko Sampo." The beam flies towards 17 as 17 casually throws up his Android barrier. The yellow beam makes contact with the Android barrier, at first seemingly halted by the barrier. However, a crack suddenly appears. 17 widens his eyes as his barrier is overwhelmed by the sheer piercing force of the special beam cannon as it goes through his barrier and straight through 17's chest as well. 17 lands on the ground as he coughs out blood. Android 18 rushes to him. However, 17's life was no more. 17's lifeless eyes look back at Android 18 as an expression of sadness first appears on 18's face, before the sadness quickly morphs into anger. Android 18 fumes in rage and anger as she looks towards Piccolo. Piccolo cracks his neck, asking if 18 wanted to follow his brother's example and die under his hand as well. Piccolo knew that leaving 18 alive was a risk, but despite all of future Trunks' warnings, he didn't really think that 17 and 18 were bad people. In fact, 17 reminded him of himself back in the day. However, the threat of Cell was just far too pressing, so Piccolo knew that he had to eliminate one of the androids. 18 rushes forward, fully intending to get revenge for her brother, but a pair of strong arms hold her back. 16 tells 18 to stand down. She wasn't a match for Piccolo. 18 tries to break out of 16's grasp, but to no avail. 16's grip was firm, and didn't want any more of his android friends to lose their lives with such meaningless pursuits any longer. 16 thanks Piccolo for sparing them, even though he was technically stronger than Piccolo here, as he flies away with a struggling Android 18. Piccolo sits down a little drained as he looks down at 17's dead body. He sighs as he turns, intending to head back to Kame House, but he detects a sudden searching key right behind him. It was familiar, but sinister. It was Cell. Piccolo whips around as he notices that Cell's ki had dramatically increased since they last fought. In fact, Piccolo realized that him here was absolutely no match for Cell at this current time. Piccolo grimaces as Cell asks Piccolo where the androids were, before Cell sees a dead 17 on the ground. Cell screams in anger. Because of Piccolo, his goal of perfection will now forever be out of reach. Cell steps forward menacingly, asking Piccolo where Android 18 was. He would deliver Piccolo a swift death if Piccolo informed him about 18's whereabouts. Piccolo obviously remained silent, not saying a single word. Inwardly, Piccolo was panicking. Will this battle be where he falls? Seeing Piccolo's silence, Cell decides that he will just kill Piccolo, right here, as Cell flies forward. Piccolo flies forward as well, meeting Cell halfway as their fists clash. Immediately, Piccolo's arm is torn off from the impact, while Cell was completely fine. Cell beats Piccolo up relentlessly, not giving Piccolo a chance to breathe. The gap in power was immense, and Piccolo couldn't do anything about it. It didn't help that Cell was actually going all out here. Piccolo skids backwards and falls to the ground as Cell ends his combo, asking Piccolo one more time whether Piccolo was more willing now to shed some light on 18's location. However, Piccolo ignores Cell's questions once again, standing up shakily as he launches a barrage of ki blasts that Cell easily avoids. However, Piccolo keeps up this ki barrage, which still mostly misses the target. Cell laughs mockingly at Piccolo, asking whether Piccolo had finally lost it. However, Piccolo suddenly brings his hands together, gesturing at Cell. Cell looks around, realizing that there were hundreds of ki balls around him, all blocking his escape. The 100 ki balls were all flung towards Cell. This was Piccolo's Hell Zone grenade. Piccolo's Hell Zone grenade greatly damages Cell, causing even Cell to have multiple holes everywhere in his body. Cell screams in anger as he regenerates all his wounds. Piccolo, realizing that this was a fruitless endeavor, collapses to the ground, energy entirely spent. Meanwhile, Tien Han, who was a spectator up to this point, decides to finally fly over to the island to aid Piccolo. Goku and Gohan were watching their fight from above at Kami's lookout, ready to instant transmission at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, Android 16, who was flying away with Android 18, has a partially conflicted expression on his face. Cell steps up to Piccolo as he kicks Piccolo straight into the water. As Piccolo's body sinks downwards, Tien Han finally decides to step in. He puts his hands together, forming a triangle shape, and shouts, "Kikoho!" Cell is sent flying into a triangle-shaped hole, being caught off guard by Tien Han's technique. Keep in mind that in canon, Tien Han did this to second form Cell, so against a weaker first form Cell, Tien's technique actually hurts Cell a little. Tien Han yells to Goku. He knew that Goku was watching from above, telling him to rescue Piccolo, as he yells again, plunging Cell even further down with another Kikoho. Goku instant transmissions to the scene, thanking Tien as he teleports Piccolo right out of there. Tien Han lowers his hands. His job here was done, but he knew his chance of survival was slim. There was no way Cell would let him escape now. That was until Goku teleports back to Tien Han as well and teleports him to Kami's lookout. Cell flies out of the triangle-shaped hole as he looks around. Not noticing a single sea signature around, Cell screams in anger. His plans of perfection were thwarted, and the perpetrator, Piccolo, escapes unpunished. Cell swears vengeance on Tien Han and Piccolo as he flies off, in search of Android 18. Meanwhile, up on Kami's lookout, a recovered Piccolo and Tien heave a sigh of relief, having each already consumed a senzu bean. Goku sits impatiently awaiting Vegeta and Trunks' exit out of the hyperbolic time chamber. Soon after, Goku's desires were heard as Vegeta and Trunks exit the time chamber, with Vegeta eagerly awaiting a good fight with this new creature called Cell. He mocks Piccolo for his loss as he flies off, Trunks following closely behind. Goku and Gohan still decide to enter the hyperbolic time chamber for 1 year. Even if Vegeta was extremely confident, it didn't hurt to just play safe. As Goku and Gohan embark on their training, Vegeta and Trunks arrive at Cell's location. Feeling Cell's ki, Vegeta knew that the fight was already over, but he would still like to get a little fun out of it. So Vegeta decided to hold himself back a little as he only went Super Saiyan Grade 1, not even intending to use his muscular Grade 2 form. Cell, who was initially cocky, felt Vegeta's ki soar right past his. As his eyes widened, Vegeta blitzes forward, appearing in front of Cell as he punches Cell into the air. Cell takes immense damage from Vegeta's one punch and immediately takes to pleading for mercy, stating that he would give Vegeta a good fight if Vegeta just let him absorb Android 18. Vegeta cocks an eyebrow, interested at the prospect, asking Cell where Android 18 was. However, this is where Cell fumbles his offer. Cell tells Vegeta that he actually has no idea where Android 18 was, but reassures him that he would find 18 soon enough. Vegeta ponders upon this as Trunks yells at Vegeta to stop this charade. They needed to kill Cell right here. Vegeta sighs, his patience reaching his limit. He wanted a better fight, but he could get one from Kakarot after his exit from the time chamber. Cell simply wasn't worth the effort. Vegeta puts his hands up and points it at Cell. Cell, recognizing the pose, tries to flee, immediately yelling "Solar Flare!" Trunks and Vegeta were blinded temporarily as Cell managed to escape by the skin of his teeth. Trunks yells in frustration as he glares at Vegeta. If he didn't keep playing around, Cell would have been dead by now. Vegeta merely shrugs. He didn't perceive Cell as a threat whatsoever. Hopefully next time around, Cell will give him more of a fight. This time, as Cell flees the scene, he suppresses his power fully. Previously, he didn't bother to do so. After all, he thought that no one could match him, even in his imperfect state. But Vegeta's sudden power up completely caught the android off guard. However, Cell's worries don't end there. Out of nowhere, someone intercepts Cell as Cell comes to a flying halt. It was Android 16. Android 16 tells Cell that in the fight against Vegeta, he had gauged Cell's power and techniques. Now, it was time for Cell to die. This time around, Cell decided that he wouldn't underestimate his opponent. So, Cell keeps his guard up as he powers up fully. Vegeta and Trunks suddenly feel Cell's presence as they decide to fly over. However, by the time they reach, all they see is a giant explosion, then an android, and the remnants of an island. 16 had managed to eliminate Cell utilizing his Hell's Flash technique. Just like that, Cell was no more. Trunks tenses up, his phobia of androids coming back, but then he remembers Goku and Piccolo's words, that Android 16 and 18 weren't their enemy. 16 flies away, not even bothering to greet them. A day later, Goku and Gohan finally exit the time chamber as Super Saiyans, and Vegeta immediately challenges Goku to a fight. Learning of Cell's demise from Piccolo, Goku accepts Vegeta's challenge and easily humbles Vegeta, even in his Super Saiyan grade form. Trunks returns to the past like usual as he goes and eliminates 17 and 18, and then subsequently another form of imperfect Cell. Now we will enter the 7-year timeskip in between the Cell Saga and the Buu Saga. Krillin doesn't get together with Android 18 because he didn't meet her the second time on the island. Android 16 is still alive because he was never killed by second form Cell. Cell never had a chance to transform. And the initial wish to the Dragon Balls was used to revive all who were killed by the androids, as well as Cell. 17, who was unfortunately killed by Piccolo, is not included in this wish. However, after making the first wish, there's still one wish left. Piccolo actually has the temptation to revive 17, but dismisses the idea in the end. So, Android 17 is still dead in this version of events, and 18 is still looking for revenge against Piccolo. Android 16 is also looking to fight Goku, so Android 16 and 18 had to be taken care of first before we proceed onwards. After the fight between Goku and Vegeta, Android 16 and 18 fly over to intercept the Z fighters. Android 16 had detected the scuffle between Goku and Vegeta and together with Android 18, flown in the general direction. Immediately, two sets of fights occur, one between Android 16 and Goku, and one between Android 18 and Piccolo. Android 16 couldn't fight his inherent programming, while Android 18 wanted revenge for her brother Android 17. Goku, with his first year of training in the Room of Spirit and Time, had already mastered Super Saiyan Grade 4, so he easily dispatches Android 16. The fight between Android 18 and Piccolo, however, is much closer, but Piccolo had already trained a year in the hyperbolic time chamber, and his power has already far surpassed 17's, and 17's power was higher than 18's in the first place. So, without too much effort, Piccolo dispatches Android 18 as well. However, both Goku and Piccolo spared their foes because they didn't perceive them as major threats. 16 tells Goku to just kill him. After all, because of his programming, he would constantly come after Goku over and over again. Android 16 couldn't help it. However, Bulma chimes in. With Jiro's notes, it wouldn't take any effort to remodel Android 16. With that, Android 16 goes away with Bulma. Meanwhile, Android 18 was still extremely hostile towards the Z fighters, not intending to play nice with them whatsoever. This was when Goku suggested reviving Android 17. Piccolo looks at Goku, utterly bewildered, but Goku bounces Piccolo's words right back at Piccolo. The androids don't seem like that bad of people. Obviously, the one who would object this is Trunks, having witnessed the utter horror of the androids in the future. But Goku reassures Trunks. He was more than enough to handle the androids. In fact, even Vegeta, Piccolo, and even Trunks himself were more than a match for them. So in the end, 17 is revived half a year later. Android 18 is ecstatic, but she was still reluctant to call the Z fighters any more than mere acquaintances. So unfortunately, Krillin and 18's fates have diverged in this canon of events. 16 joins the Z fighters as an honorary member as we now proceed into the 7-year timescale. With Goku alive, Gohan continues his training diligently, though keep in mind here that Gohan has never unleashed his full potential during the Cell Saga in this version of events. However, Gohan's power by the end of these 7 years is still a good 2 times his Buu Saga counterpart in canon. Goku and Vegeta are actually slightly stronger in base as well, but Goku unfortunately has no access to the Super Saiyan 3 form. Naturally, this increase in strength meant that Golden and Trunks are slightly stronger as well. Most of the Buu Saga proceeds the same. Gohan gets his identity as a superhero vigilante exposed by Videl and is blackmailed into joining the 25th World Tournament. In the end, the whole gang ends up joining, though keep in mind here that Android 18 isn't here. Together with 17, they have been off the grid and had not been in contact with the Z fighters for many years. 16 himself abstained because he didn't see the point in engaging in such trivial activities. The entire story goes the same, until the Z fighters arrive outside Barbely's ship. 16 takes the spit from Dabura and ends up being the one to turn to stone, protecting Krillin and Piccolo. And thanks to Gohan being far stronger, the energy fed into Buu instantaneously revives Majin Buu. Barbely is elated and Dabura was the same. However, seeing the monster in its true form, Dabura tries and fails to cool Majin Buu, which leads to Dabura's death. Now Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Krillin and Piccolo will duke it out against Majin Buu. With no Super Saiyan 3 at their disposal, this fight isn't as easy as you think. None of the fighters there, not even Gohan, came close to Majin Buu in terms of raw power. Buu was tricky, unpredictable, and most of all, almost unkillable. Goku tells everyone to put their all into one attack. If they wanted to take out Buu, they would have to do it together. Piccolo charges his special beam cannon as Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta charge their Kamehameha, Masenko, and Gallic guns respectively. They launch their attacks as Krillin yells Solar Flare, blinding the monster and keeping him in place. The potency of this combined attack is monstrous. Despite how resilient Buu is, the attack, he managed to eradicate Buu once and for all. Witnessing Buu's demise, Babidi tries to flee, but Shin, the Supreme Kai, intercepts and puts an end to the wizard. With the Buu Saga ending right here, multiple important events don't occur. Fat Buu never gets a chance to redeem himself, so we never get a good Fat Buu, as well as Satan's redemption arc during the end of the Buu Saga. Without Goku's fight against Kid Buu, there won't be a Kid Buu reincarnation in the future, so no U. The Z-Sword is also never broken by Gohan, so all Kai remains sealed in the Z-Sword. Also, both forms of fusion, the knowledge of the Potara earrings and the fusion dance, will forever be lost to time. Gohan also never gets his potential unlocked. With all these occurring, believe it or not, the events of the story going forward still don't change much. Dragon Ball Super is the Goku and Vegeta show, so most of the events stay exactly the same. Of course, the moral arc will change drastically, but I don't plan on covering that until it is adapted. And there's also another important fight that will be drastically changed. That is of course Dragon Ball Super Broly. Without knowledge of the fusion dance, there will be no Gogeta Blue. So I'll leave you all to think how that fight will turn out. Will Broly just end up wiping out Goku and Vegeta and destroying Earth? Anyways, thanks you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.